Mel, good morning.
Hello, Sir Kenneth. I am sharing my presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Nakita, Sir Kenneth?
Yes, ma'am. I can already view it at my end here.
Okay, thank you so much, Sir Kenneth. My warm greetings to all attendees in this particular Division Executive Conference. Again, good morning, everyone. So here is our report on updates and instructions. And of course, we included here our TF Kaalam BALCT, part of it. Okay. Before presenting to you some of the important updates, allow me to share first the result of the um, quick survey on the following, particularly on the planned or preferred learning delivery modalities that our schools will be implementing this coming school year. Thank you so much, of course, to all the districts who responded immediately. School system supervisors were yesterday at 3 o'clock, and then last night I was able to gather responses of the 51 districts out of the 56 districts in the division of Bohol. Again, congratulations to the respondents. But of course, the other districts, the remaining 5, were able to submit later, pero wala na ako ma-appeal ani. Okay? Our purpose of having this quick survey is of course to gather baseline information on the updates on the different LDMs and the SLMs and other relative information as far as the delivery of the instructions is concerned. So for modular learning printed, excuse me. What's the name? Okay, sorry for the interruption. So, for elementary, we know that there are 933 schools. Out of the 933, 824, we have the data of the 824 schools per report of the PSDSS. So, out of this number, for modular learning printed, there are 782 schools who are still be implementing the printed modules. Okay, so this is 94.90% of the 824 schools. Okay, and then for modular learning digital, 59, meaning out of the 824 schools, 59 o hiingon na nga based on the survey nga mogamit na sila og modular learning digital. Then for online learning, 4 out of 27 out of 824. And then for radio-based instruction, 70, television 31, and then blended, a combination of any of the identified LDMs, modular printed, the online, or so on and so forth. Okay, so 96. So that's for the data coming from the elementary. And then for the high school, out of 163 high schools, katong based on the data that we gathered, for printed modular, 155 schools, so 95.09%. For learning digital, 12, online learning 4, radio 19, and then television 20, and then blended is 37. So out of the data presented, we can say that most of our schools, elementary and high schools, are on the printed modular, meaning the utilization of our self-learning modules. So for online learning, upat ra jud for the high school, and then 27. So hopefully, after gathering the data coming from the modified ML sana is AF, this perhaps can be changed, or because this is still the baseline data. So hopefully, before the start of the school year, perhaps other schools can implement other learning modalities. Then on SLM distribution, per result, still we're so happy because we can still sustain the one that we did before last school year, wherein all our learners were able to have the 1:1 ratio of the SLMs given to them. Same with both the elementary and the high school. So, and then for the schedule of distribution, we included this as one of the items also in the quick survey. So 46 out of the 51 schools who responded to the survey last night, 46 still will be distributing the modules on Fridays. So every Friday. But then there are 5 as per data gathered, 5 districts, murag ari sila sa every Monday. So this is a guide also of the EPSS, Education Program Supervisors, the area consultants, to monitor in during the distribution. This is our guide when to monitor as far as the distribution of the different SLMs is concerned. So 5, Hagna, Carmen 2, San Isidro, Ubay 2, and Valencia. Okay? So wa man natong maapil ani tong 5 districts kay kuwang man taog 5 districts to complete the 56 districts. Okay? And then for the place or places of distribution, same as before. So most of the districts have the schools as the one of the places for our parents or our learning facilitators to get and submit the modules. Okay, and then barangay hall, stores, na ada mga tindahan, no? Then pork centers, mga waiting sheds, teachers' residences, ano po dahil teachers' residences, and of course covered courts. Pero maragamay ra siguro ning mga teachers' residences. So this is most of the answers to the survey. And then for even if it's not included in one of the items in the survey as far as the best practice is concerned, but I was able to have this one which I consider a best practice of ANDA, o bisag one ato giapilad to, because we are only focusing on the issues and concerns as far as the opening of classes is concerned, pero ilahan ning gi-appeal. So all kindergarten, SPED, and grade 1 learners will be provided with one transistor radio with USB port. So how we wish that other districts also and other schools can provide transistor radio sets with USB port for our audio lessons. Because if you remember before, we had last school year, there was a division memorandum for the provision of radio sets with USB port to the kindergarten and the grade 1 learners. Okay, and I know that there are schools with 100% of the learners were provided with these radio sets with USB port for the audio lessons. And then hopefully also for this coming school year, naatay mga additional radio sets coming from the provincial ECF. There was fund allocated last 2020 budget of the province of the ECF for the procurement of radio sets. And then there was also a fund coming from the central office for our division also to procure additional radio sets for our kindergarten SPED and grade 1 learners. And then for issues and concerns, this is the last item as we included in that particular quick survey. So same as we can see on the screen, the unresolved problems or concerns last year, and hopefully this time, if these particular issues and concerns are still existing in your respective schools and districts, so this is the proper time for us to plan on what to do to address these particular concerns. Okay, so at our level at the DO, we are also planning or identifying some strategies perhaps in order to help also our schools and districts. So most of the schools, yes, need printers and laptops, kaya nangaguba na ni, and then the supply of bond papers also sa ato ang mga katindahanan before, murag nahurot-hurot, and hopefully this time there are enough supplies of this bond paper. Of course, the ink, kaysa atong agi pong tuig na hong nangahurot tong mga kanang ink for printing the different modules. And then insufficient MOE budget, but I think as I read in one of the kanang GC, murag sa group chat of the central school principals nga naadad to tong good news, additional MOE for the different levels of governance, including the schools. So at least makaingon ta nga our government really is providing their any ways and means to help our schools for our learners. Additional issues and concerns. Some parents are reluctant to facilitate the learning activities of their children due to poor educational background. Okay, so we're so lucky that last year, even if this is one of the issues that we met, but we were able to complete the school year, and then some of our districts were able to hire learning facilitators. I think there were 4 districts. You have San Miguel, Ubay 2, and then Candy High, and then Dawis. Okay, so this time we have a good news for this. Ato lang ikuan later on how to address this particular concern for our learning facilitators with kanang mga grade 1 ra in town, grade 2 ra ba, or even kadtong mga kabataan nato living with their grandparents nga mga tiguwang na nga nobody can assist them in their learning at home. And then too long content or activities in some SLMs. Okay, our education program supervisors really are doing the best that they can in order to address this one. But if you remember also before, our agreement was out of the different activities in the SLMs, at least our learners will answer at least 3. But of course, for other learners, more particularly the fast learners, can answer all the activities as reflected in the modules. And then another one, we are now on the process of enhancing our SLMs. Okay, part of the enhancement activities on what to do with these SLMs, of course, is to lessen the number of activities in the SLMs. So to address this particular concern, and then delay in releasing of the modules. Ang gibutang dito in one of the responses, ingon nga because they received the links for the districts, particularly the LR coordinators, because they were the one responsible of distributing the e-copy of these SLMs to the different schools or to the different teachers. So delay in the releasing of the modules, delay in the giving of the links. But as of this time, I know that our SLMs from quarters 1 to quarter 4 are already in the hands of the teachers. So I think murag dili na kayo ni siya problema for this time. But of course, for the enhanced SLMs, because as I mentioned a while ago, we are now on the process of enhancing our SLMs. So hopefully madali na ni siya because I know that everybody is really working hard in order to distribute or release the modules before the start of the quarter for our learners, and then for our teachers also to have time, ample time for the printing of the modules. Okay, so preparations for opening of classes. I know nga our teachers this time have started printing the quarter one SLMs or the last. So I hope nga hinay-hinay na sila og sugod because as of this time, I know also nga our EPs, some of us are still on ongoing enhancement of the modules. So as of this time, per information from our EPSs or Education Program Supervisors, the Filipino, the MTB modules, pwede na jud siyag mo iuna og print. Either done with the enhancement of these modules. Other subject areas, ga-enhance na, karon gi-final QA this week, and then they promise that next week, the enhanced quarter one SLMs in some of the subject areas will also be released. So, atong hinay-hinayan, so kung ready na ang MTB o Filipino, so mo to iuna so that kung ma-distribute na ang enhanced SLMs from the other subject areas mo na po ito isunod. Kaya aron makapahuway po o gamay ang ato ang mga printers, risographs, so on and so forth. And then for SPED, tomorrow, murag na ay enhancement, di kay mura. There is already a memorandum released to the field for the enhancement of the modules for SPED. For kindergarten, we're done. We had our series 1 and 2 enhancement of the modules last July, but then naapay mga hipnoonon ginagmay because last week, the whole week, we, meaning not me, but there were 10 participants coming from our divisions who participated in the regional capability building for the development and the QA team. So na ay mga inputs daadto nga we need really for the enhancement of our CLEP, the modules for kindergarten. But then we decide nga for our teachers to start printing, they will start printing quarter 1, weeks 1 and 2. Okay? Kaya nga to ang enhancement, we'll try ourselves nga basin next week, mahuman ang the remaining weeks for quarter 1. So meaning week 3 to week 10. Okay? Inana, okay? Kaya aron dili pod makasaan og sa nga nang daghan ang i-print. But then I'm sure nga for kindergarten and SPED, there are existing CLEP o the main CLEP, the module nga dili man tumaoy giansiran sa atong mga kabataan, so they can still use these modules. Ang i-print na lang kadto ng KWLP. I know that our school heads, particularly our kindergarten coordinators, kay bawo sila gusto ng KWLP, meaning the worksheets. Okay? And then for the enhancement of the CLEP also, we will be focusing more on the worksheets. So meaning, ang worksheets, kung atong tanawon, really are supplementary to the main activities in the modules. So ato itong i-minimize so that the printing also of the worksheets ma-lessen. Okay, so muna atong appeal sa atong enhancement that we will be focusing more on hands-on activities rather than more on the paper and pencil, meaning the worksheets. And then, for the instructional videos for distribution and utilization. I said distribution because I know nga some of our subject areas have already existing videos for quarter 1. Like for instance, AP, MTB, and Filipino. Ilahan na itong gitan-aw ron og balik for quality assurance. And then hopefully this will be released also before the start of quarter 1. Okay, so distribution and utilization. Kay ang ikatuludaan na, balik ko na ho, AP, MTB, and Filipino. And of course, SPED and kindergarten. Kinaan naman tayo existing videos on this. So utilization na ang sa kinder, kay tuan naman ni sa atong mga teachers. And then, quarter 1 instructional video development. Of course, thank you so much for our supervisors, we're done with our sabihin na pre-work yesterday, and then to be continued tomorrow for the dry run. And then our schedule for this will be for the orientation on instructional video development for our presenters or the teacher demonstrators who will be our participants in this particular orientation. We will be scheduling this one on August 26 and 27. So far, maybe the memo will be released tomorrow because we really encountered some concerns on this, more particularly on the number of participants. Because in the online registration, sa hong natanawan is so far last Sunday afternoon, there are already 1,600 plus participants, meaning the teacher presenters or the teacher demonstrators or the attendees for the particular orientation. Unsa ako pong natanawan dadto is there are those in the list na mga kindergarten teachers. Remember that we will be focusing this time on the instructional videos for grades 1 to 12. Diyan mo nang natinga ko, uy hala, ano na may mga kindergarten teachers nga na-appeal ani sa hing register online. Does this mean the kindergarten teachers will be doing the demo or will be the presenters in these instructional videos? Parang inana ba? So mo tong subayunon pa siya, so that's why gahuna mi og how to accommodate the 1,000 plus participants. So we will finally be agreeing on this tomorrow or this afternoon perhaps with the team kay aron ta maka-release na sa memo on this. And then orientation to the parents and learning facilitators, and of course the learning support aids. Okay, so this is really very important as one of the very important activities to be done before the opening of classes. I know that we had this also last year, but of course we need to have this again this year. Because remember, nga there are mga changes, mga important instructions, nga maybe these instructions were murag wa maklaro before, and then you meet some issues and concerns on particularly lagi sa atong mga learning facilitators on how they help or assist our learners in their learning at home. So at least naapay mga sabi nga ni ato pa silang magiyahan o matabangan during this particular orientation. So not only ang kinder nga kinahanglan ani, but hopefully all the grade levels. And I know as what I have learned also, other districts and other schools have already started conducting this orientation to the parents and to the learning facilitators. Okay. On the screen, if you remember, we released this last week. One of the memoranda that we released is Division Memorandum 700 Series 2021. This is our Division Memorandum informing the field about the DepEd program TV grid. Now, if you remember, there were many issuances as far as the viewing of the DepEd TV episodes. And then we are even, our SDS even is instructing us to have a report on this, but so far we included this as one of our items also discussed during our meeting for the purpose of clarifying the gray areas on the development of instructional videos on the report for those who viewed or who made use of the DepEd TV episodes. Pero so far, sa akong natanawan is murag usa pa to ka district ang nakasubmit or duha. And then I hope we can submit the data on this. And then this is just a very important murag in addition to the DepEd TV episodes na the TV grid wherein we are encouraging our teachers to view this one. In the memorandum, there is there is a link for our teachers and even ourselves, the supervisors, the school heads, to view the different DepEd TV episodes nga naa ani ang link sa ato ang TV nga grid. Ang natan-awan is hingsuway ko og open, and then very murag hapsay siya kay arrange by subject area, by grade level, starting from kindergarten to grade 12. Okay, so this is how to access the websites. So to quickly access the DepEd TV program grid website, mao ni ang buhaton. So connect to the internet. So kasang gingon sa unahan na siya website. So tanan ko no, everybody is requested to explore, to access on this aron matan-awan ta unsay naada ani. Of course, kadtong mga TV episodes, DepEd TV episodes, mo isud ani. As what I have said, kanang gi-arrange siya. Search for the grade level and click it. So ini-click nimo sa kinder, grade 1 or other grades. Ini mo open siya sa different subjects with the weekly lessons aligned and patterned with the MELC. So for senior high schools, the subject are arranged according to the core subjects, applied subjects, and the specialized subjects. So check for the exact airing schedule in the television, which includes the date and the time. So naapod to ang date and the time. So meaning, if we fail to view the episodes in the DepEd TV, so we can view these episodes through the grid, the program, that DepEd TV program grid. And then the title of the episode is also clickable, and then it will directly loop into the DepEd TV official YouTube channel. So naadad to. So for our concerns on the development of the instructional videos, so these episodes nga naa makita nato ani ang TV program grid sa DepEd, makatan-aw ta adto og at least our teachers and all of us will be guided on how to develop these instructional videos. Kay naa dadto kinanindutan. Okay? So again, we're encouraging everyone to access the websites and then view the different episodes. And then hopefully, if our teachers will be using this one, kay nindot man siya tanawon, especially for those nga naay mga gadgets at home, ang atong mga bata nga naay mga gadgets at home, we will encourage them to make use of this. Okay? To supplement the modules. And of course, kung daghan ang naay gadgets, murag pwede na siguro og dili na mag-print og modules for these learners who can access this one. And of course, in addition to not only this one but also our kanang developed instructional videos by our divisions, diba? Kay mao naman ni ato ang murag primary or kanang activity for us to help our learners. Kay aron this is not only to supplement the modules, kay aron to supplement nga naa ang printed modules, and then naa pa jud ang mga episodes, but then katong naa lagi mga gadgets, pwede na jud sila og make use of the gadgets to view the instructional videos. Katong gikan nato nga i-arrange siya by quarter and then by week, and then naa pa jud ning additional nga naa sa ato ang DepEd TV program. So hopefully masud po ni siya for monitoring purposes, kay aron makakuanta sa atong mga maestra kung gigamit ba ning ato ang mga hinaguan sa DepEd, this one, and also kanang atong himuon nga instructional videos nga ato ni silang aron ma-monitor nato kung gigamit ba to be incorporated in the weekly plan of the teachers. So inig-monitor na to atong tan-awon kun what particular episodes, what particular instructional videos were being utilized by or provided to the learners. Okay. So preparations again for opening of classes. So we're so happy, we're so lucky, unfortunate enough, and so thankful to the provincial government for a provincial allocation for a portion of the provincial ECF budget will be for hiring of the LSAs, Learner Support Aids. Okay? So, ang ato ani at our level, as per information also I gathered or I got from the one in charge for this, Ma'am Gina Luz, whom I talked also a while ago, nga there are 1,160 LSAs to be hired. And they will start their services as LSAs on September 1, 2021. Kanang naas ubos. So 1,160. Now if we remember last year, ang atong na-identify in need of LSAs, the identified need of LSAs, kuan man to kabuok, 1,150 na ay naduga nga 10. So, in total na og 1,160 to be hired from the provincial ECF budget. Okay? So, for the specific job, functions, and nature of engagement, murag taas naman kung ato pa ning i-discuss sa tagsa. So, hopefully, all the school heads, all the supervisors will be guided on the issuances. DepEd Order number 32 Series 2021. Kanaani tanan ang roles and responsibilities of the LSAs. And of course, our part also in the school and in the district, what to do for our LSAs to help them also, for them to be able to do their assigned task well and effectively. And then DepEd Order number 28 Series of 21 na ay amendment. This is the amendment for DepEd Order number 32 Series 2021. But the job functions, responsibilities naa na siya sa number 32. Naaray mga amendments na sa 28. So hopefully, all of us will have a copy on this. And then, orientation on the job functions, roles, and responsibilities. It is suggested that since they will start their services on September 1, 2021, the first thing to be done, of course, is the orientation. Very important for them to be oriented on the roles and responsibilities. And then, as part of the documentation for the schools to submit, for the districts to submit to us, and for the DO also to submit to the province, to the office of the governor, our documentation. So pictures during the conduct of that particular activity, nga matanawan kung sa gihimo dadto. And then, of course, as per information from the one in charge for this, si Ma'am Gina Luz, a video message coming from our governor and vice governor also will be presented during the particular orientation. So again, it is suggested that the orientation will be done on the first day of service for the LSAs, September 1, 2021. And then part of this report also, I will be presenting the programs, activities, and projects as listed in our TF Kaalam BALCP. So if you remember, during the time of Sir Dagatan, he really kind of emphasized the importance of planning. So this is now the proper time of the year wherein we have to revisit the previous plans and the data in implementing these plans will be inputs to the adjustment of our plans for this school year 2021-2022. So I will not be presenting the whole of our BALCP plan for TF Kaalam. Of course, sa atong CID, only the programs, activities, and projects to save time. Okay. So before that, allow me to present, of course, the composition of our team. all our EPSs, the Education Program Supervisories, and then by CD na atay selected public schools district supervisories who are part as members of our DTF Kaalam Task Force. So dili na lang basahon tagsa-tagsa na diha. Okay? So that we can proceed to the most important one. Okay, so for the action plan, so same. If you look at the how 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the action plan has 5 columns for the following items. Of course, the programs and strategies, activities and tasks, timeline, the resource or budgetary requirements, the persons involved, and the output. I am showing this to you, the format of the template where the label I think I know that you have also your own BALCP plans. So Huani is just as a reference for you in adjusting also or in identifying the different parts of your action plan for your LCP, school LCP and the district LCP. So it has 3 parts. Nga murag nakalimtan din nato before kay hing focus sa taad to only one part during the implementation. Thanks for the guidance of our SDS, Dr. Dagatan, for giving us highlights or mga inputs on how to inputs to be included in our adjusted BALCP. So 3 phases, the pre-implementation phase, the during implementation phase, and the post-implementation phase. Of course, for the pre-implementation phase, as what I have mentioned a while ago, there's a need for us to review or to revisit the plans that we have. So the BALCP, so I know that all the schools have the school LCPs, the districts have the district LCPs, and of course, all of us, mga instructional leaders, have our TE plans. And then we have also our the DBEA, the result of the DBEA, of course, per quarter, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and hopefully our schools nakakandak o katong gitawag nato nga annual implementation review, the AIR, to find out if all the activities that we did with our plan for the whole year as far as the SIP is concerned, naa ba siya'y sa may gitawag nato ana resulta, the ginagmay nga mga ginansya, the initial gains for the implementation of the different PAPs in the SIP, and of course in our BALCP. Kaya mo na ito ang moral whole plan na this time to be implemented this school year. So review all the plans, and then the data that will come out in the review, not only the physical accomplishments, meaning the quantitative accomplishments, we will also be including the important data, the qualitative. Qualitative, we mean katong mga issues and concerns, and then what we did, what were the different actions that we did in order for the schools to be able to address those needs and those concerns. So this data, issues and concerns, mga lessons learned in implementing those different targets in the different plans that we have, o natong gamiton because this will serve as inputs, most particularly the best practices. Kay daghan taog na identify nga mga best practices. So this will be sustained, and for those nga murag natanawan nato nga need to be changed, and then you can adapt more effective and efficient practices or strategies, and then include that in our BALCP this time. And of course, in the SIP adjusted for year 3. So congratulations sa atong SIP. This is now the 3rd year of the life of our SIP. Kaya tulo na katuig, no? So hopefully katong mga balances katong ma-accomplish in the previous 2 years, so this is the last year, so ang tanan ma-accomplish. But of course, you will consider also the result in implementing this particular PRAPs, programs, activities, and projects. So when you have already the data after the review, the AIR for SIP, the BALCP, the AIR also, kay annual implementation review, the TE plan also, so adjust. And then after adjusting, once you have the adjusted plan, of course, very important to advocate. Meaning for the school, during PTA meetings at the start or before the start of the school year, i-appeal ninyo og present your adjusted plans. Okay, so very important. And then, during implementation, the second phase, nga na dito ang kinadaghanan nga buhatunon, kay mao naman to all the PAPs, nga makatabang for us to be able to achieve the desired education outcomes. So naadiha tanan. And then post-implementation, the celebration of success. Unya di nato kalimtan katong usa nga makalimtan nato after implementing any programs and plans after we have the so-called celebration of success. So part of it will be the awarding or the recognition of our mga best implementers of the different programs and projects nga naka-help. At least we will also be reminded also nga to include also our partners. Kay without our partners, dili man nato mahimo ang atong mga targets or mga PAPs as listed in the different plans that we have. Okay? So ato silang appeal during the award and recognition day. Okay? As an activity to celebrate success. Okay, so programs, activities, and projects in the PAPs, of course, we align this. So for us, sa atong ang TF kaalang, we align this to the KRA also of the CID. And then, moingon tag CID, basi moingon mo, oy, sa division office raman na. So remember, natong curriculum and implementation division, naaman ni gihapon sa district as well as the school. Ang school head ra, maoray, unsa may nga na murag kinadaghanan og buhatunon, but because not only the PAPs for the CID, but naagihapon sila daghang PAPs for governance, for the schools governance and operations division. So mao sila kinadaghanan og buhatunon. So congratulations mga school heads. Okay? And then kani sa CID ra need to become part also of the, as what I have mentioned, on the different plans of the school heads, and of course the supervisors for the district plans or instructional plans. Okay, so one of the items on capability building, we listed there on this particular part, daghan tong among dimension, but here in this presentation, we will be focusing on this, kaning duha, very important. Enhancement training on interventions for academically challenged learners, or including our learners with special educational needs. Now, if you remember in last year, there were already topics for us for our teachers or our school heads and us also to be enhanced as far as our KSAs or key subs is concerned on how to handle these particular LSENs or mga struggling learners. So we included in one of our activities katong topics on differentiated instructions. So for us to be reminded on how to prepare materials, how to prepare activities for our learners, focusing on the learners with academically challenged learners, our struggling learners. So at least there are activities or there are materials nga suited to their needs. Kay kung atong tanawon ang atong SLMs, daghan man siya mga activities, so hopefully na ay mga activities nga naa sa atong SLMs nga suited or fitted to the struggling learners. Kay even if lahi siya og activities but the same competency, so mo learn gihapon ang atong mga kabataan. So again, differentiated instructions, din naa po tay topics adto on how to manage our learners with special educational needs, the LDRC, naaputoy how to differentiate katong mga stories, katong gitawag nato og adaptive texts. And if you remember also, our receiving teachers, meaning all the teachers, katong atong training on inclusive education. So daghan naman sa atong mga maestra trained on inclusive education. So I hope nga kanang i-appeal na to niani. So if there's a need for the school or for the district to have retooling or a training on the enhancement training for the improvement of the KSAs of our teachers, the implementers, the frontliners at the school. So we will have this. And of course, ato din hinumduman nga in this particular enhancement training, naman tayo mga ideas on this, naman tayo existing knowledge KSAs on this, and then if there's a need nga naapay additional, and then we can have this. And then hopefully also our teachers, our school heads also, maybe one of their activities nga maapil sa ilahang plan is for the training or orientation for our parents, the learning facilitators. Karon kay bawo pud sila to handle these learners o ang ilahang mga bata. So on and so forth. And then another one is the QA standards and guidelines on conducting quality assurance of the different SLMs. Okay? Daghan naman tag nahibawan ani. I know nga very active ang atong LR, Division LR Supervisor, Ma'am Joy, with her team, the TWG, katong mga district LR coordinators. So hopefully cascade ang ilahang nahibawan to the field, to the teachers more particularly. Kay nahibaw ra batang ang atong mga maestra mga kugihan mang download o mga materials nga naa sa any sources sa website unsa kanidi ay maong mga materials na atay mga gitawag og mga IPR issues. So hopefully ma-reminded, ma-oriented, ma-reoriented ang atong tanang mga maestra on this. Okay? But then, sa ato ang development, orientation on the development of instructional videos, this is one also of the topics to be discussed by the education program supervisors. So at least ma-oriented, reoriented ang ato ang mga maestra. Kay very important, kay simbak ko mga prisuta because of the IPR. Okay? And then, still part of the kanang atong BALCP. So on monitoring and evaluation and TA. Of course, we really atong nakita nga very helpful, very useful ang atong quarterly conduct of the ISMEA at the school level, the DISMEA at the district level, the DIMEA at the division level. And of course, we have another term for this nga kanang gitawag nato program implementation review. So specific ni siya for a particular program. I know nga our supervisors, our school heads, particularly the kindergarten coordinators, sige naman ni sila attend sa atong gitawag og quarterly program implementation review, focusing only on program. But then, di ta mo ingon nga mag-separate. Pwede ra jud ni siya i-appeal in your MEA, quarterly MEA at the school, the district, and the division. So inana no? So especially this time nga we cannot visit regularly kanang on-site visit to the schools. So the data that we will be gathering during the quarterly review, the quarterly MEA, are really very helpful, very useful. Kaya itong matanawan dadto unsay nahitabo sa kada eskwelahan. And then hopefully, dili na pud huwaton nato nga every quarter na, kay kung huwaton pa na nato at the end of the quarter, dili na unya nato ma-address ang mga immediate problems, immediate concerns of the schools. So inana no? So in your monthly, kay kita man jung tanan required to have the monthly M&E and accomplishment reports. So starting from the school head, I hope nga our supervisors, I know that the school heads are submitting reports to the district office, to the district offices. So nang kana bang the report on the M&E report as well as the TA report na part man na sa ato ang monthly accomplishment report, matanawan nato dadto unsay mga needs to be addressed immediately, not nga maghuwat pa ta sa quarterly MEA, quarterly program implementation review. So with the accomplishment report or the M&E report, I'm so happy to inform everyone nga ang atoang mga supervisors submitting this report in hard copy or through the classroom, Google Classroom, atong natanawan nga kuan na siya, kumpleto na. So we have a template on this. So I hope nga the supervisors ilahan na ning gi-share to the school heads kay aron matan-awan nato ang kumpletong gusto natong matan-awan. Like for instance, the issues and concerns, the corresponding recommendations, and then naay result or mga best practices nga atong makita. So in one glance nato makatan-aw ta nga wow, what day problema kani nga eskwelahan, what day problema kani nga district because of that monthly accomplishment report. But of course, need to be validated also. Kay dama po uban nga nice ang mga naadiha nabutang sa atong accomplishment report, pero mao nang ganid po tag mga means of verifications. Okay? And then conduct periodic monitoring and evaluation on the utilization. So, ato na lang nang general LDM, the learning delivery modalities. So, a while ago, I presented to here atong result of the quick survey wherein daghan pa ang preferred to have the printed modules, and hopefully matan-awan nato nga kanang unsa man nga na we can adapt another strategies, like for another modality, like for instance kung ma-realize na ng atuang instructional videos. So, sa gingon sa unahan nga ma-minimize ang printing. Kay katong mga bata nga nanay mga gadgets o maka-view sa atong instructional videos nga kung unsay naa sa module for the day, for the week, mao po nay naa sa video, so atong matan-awan nga guided ang atong mga bata. So ang i-print na lang sa atong mga maestra kadto na lang worksheets o mga activity sheets nga maoy iuli ari balik sa eskwelahan for our teachers to evaluate and assess every end of the week. Okay? So in and then learning resources. Monitoring this time o yung pag-utilization, of course ang ato siguro this time in preparation for the opening of classes, the printing na kumpleto na ba katong giingon ana ba ang MTB o Filipino kay mao naman to ang final, and then aron sunod semana once ma-release ang other subject areas mao areas mao na po i-print sa atong mga maestra. Kay aron at the start of the school year sa September 13 plansado na tanan. September 13 na distribute na ang tanang SLMs, and then ang mga instructional materials like for instance sa kindergarten nga dili kay ang SLM ra, the CLEP ra, but also the manipulatives. Okay, and other learning resources nga gamiton sa ato ang mga kabataan. And then the TV radio episodes katong ahong gipakita nga TV grid, program grid sa DepEd. So hopefully mo access ang atong mga maestra apilta karon matan-awan nga kanindot iay ang gihimo o gihaguan sa ato ang gobyerno, sa atong Department of Education, with the teachers, of course, the school heads and the supervisors who are really very willing to help. And of course, letter C, the KSABs, knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values learned in CB program attended. So i-appeal po nato kay daghan natag mga training nga gihatag sa atong mga maestra, gihatag sa atong mga school heads and kita mismo, and then are we improving based on the learning or the everything that we learned during the training, then ato ba ni siyang gigamit. Importante kung gigamit ba ni siya. And then mandated programs and projects. So appeal ni sa atong monitoring, of course, mo-focus sa atong monitoring activities. There are lots of mandated programs and projects. How itong gibutang diha tayo makalimtan ang atong mga CI projects, ang atong mga research, nga mao naman itong gihaguan. And then we know also that these programs or kaning mga CI programs and researches and other mandated programs can really help in improving the delivery of instructions, okay, and improving or achieving our desired learning outcomes. Okay. Still on assess. This is the second KRA as far as the CID is concerned. Kay kato ang first, kay kato ang management of curriculum implementation. So ang ikaduha is assessment of learning outcomes. So part of our preparation, of course, kani conduct of diagnostic test. So hopefully mo ni ang ato ang first 2 weeks of classes nga makakandak ang ato mga teachers og diagnostic test to have the baseline data of our learners, not only in the different subject areas, katong ato ang og nakabantay ta na atay mga katong activities, one of the activities katong reading, about reading. So one of the diagnostic tests, the ORVT, the PhilErie, so on and so forth. And then for kindergarten, na ata adtong ECD, na first 2 weeks of the start of the school year, mao po to i-administer. And then, kung atong tan-awon sa ato ang school calendar, naapod adto ang administration of the multi-factored assessment tool. So wa pa to matanawi kon how this will be administered to the learners, considering to the grade 1 learners, considering the need ni og lots of materials. And of course, mao na ha sa first 2 weeks, the administration of the diagnostic tests. And then, result for that, hopefully, in any kind of test or assessments given to our learners, we have to analyze, interpret the data for us to be able to identify what specific action steps, mga interventions for us to address the gaps as far as the performance of our learners is concerned. And then if you remember, na ato i-present si ang ato ang Assistant Schools Division Superintendent Dr. Danny Gudilusaw during our orientation on the submission of the quarterly report on assessment kadtong SIIP, Strategic Instructional Plan. Strategic Instructional kuwang magusaday ay intervention plan. So hopefully naay ubang district nga na sila gi-submit to the division pero murag jutay pa. It's not only the district who will be doing this, most importantly our schools. Kaya matan-awan dadto unsa joy mga need sa ato ang mga learners based sa mga data nga atong nakuha during any kind of assessments given to them. So diagnostic, and then the quarterly assessment, and of course natong gidugang spot tests. Para asa maning spot tests? Not only the education program supervisors, hopefully will be administering the spot test. Of course, the district supervisors, the school heads, most importantly. Nga naman, one of the concerns nga atong ang na-encounter in the previous years, katong atong pangutana, tinuod kaning result. Nga kaning bataa, o sa akong nahibawan, kuanan man ni, struggling learner man ni diris grade 1, pagka grade 2, di naman, o na fast naman based on the result of the output submitted to us. So inana no. So one way of validating the results of the learners' performance kaning pagkandak of spot tests. Okay? So inana. And then of course, any kind of assessment, the results should be analyzed and interpreted. Okay? Analyzed and interpreted kay aron mo come up lagi tag appropriate interventions to help our learners so that at the end of the year makaingon ta nga wa na tay failure. So far for last school year naa gihapon tay failures. So hopefully maginagmay o hopefully mag-zero na jud na. Okay, atong standard for failure is 0 failure rate. And other schools, murag 0 ang uban, pero ang uban na paghihapon. So hopefully kitang tanan, ang tanang schools, kaya ang tanang bata man, wa na'y ma-fail. So with this, basta mahatagan og appropriate interventions, hopefully silang tanan pass. Nobody will be left behind. Okay, so on learning resources, so this is still KRA number 3 in our CID. So enhancement of SLMs and instructional videos. SLMs, ang gingon sa unahan, we are now on the process of enhancing the SLMs. And then for the instructional videos, katong diha na tayo instructional videos last year. And then of course, naatay instructional videos the existing for AP, MTB, and Filipino na ilahan na po nang i-enhance and then katong giingon nga hopefully ma-distribute before the start of the school year. Kaya ron magamit sa atong mga kabataan. And then, kani ikaduha, of course, kung kitang tanan magtinabangay to come up with the instructional videos of the different learning areas by grade level per week and per quarter. So dako na kayo nag-ikatabang para sa ato ang mga kabataan. Not only sa mga kabataan, of course sa eskwelahan. Kaya aron magamit pa og laing kagamitan ang MOE instead of printing of the modules. Kaya magamay naman ang i-print because of the instructional videos. Wow! Okay? And then post-implementation, ako na nang i-discuss. Nga mo na yung mga activities for the post-implementation as far as the BALCP is concerned. But of course, any other plans. Not just a celebration of success and then awards and recognition to the deserving implementers, including our partners, the LGUs and other partners, other external stakeholders. Okay, so mga upcoming activities, ako na lang yung paspasan. Kaya saan na marong orasa? Awa pa man di ay. Okay, so upcoming activities. So we have here workshop on the refinement of math SLM. So ang gingon sa unahan nga ga-workshop na sila ron. And then Dr. Galasio promised that next week ma-release na ni siya. Okay, specialized science training for elementary non-science teachers. So ongoing ni ang math 23-24 and then tomorrow mo start as a 25-26 ugma lagi. So mo start na pod ang science. Okay, nabisihan si Sir Felix kay wa pa man tay science nga EPS. But then kanang we're so fortunate or happy in Bohol kay ato ang mga maestra, ato ang mga school heads, especially members ato ang technical working group, ato mga writers na adjud sila kanunay, okay, para sa ato ang mga kabataan. Virtual orientation on the development of and quality assurance of instructional videos. So mauni sa 26 and 27 natong gamay patang gihipno because of the number of participants nga na dito, how to accommodate them. Perhaps kung pwede ra kung mo allow ang ato ang kuan kanang based also sa mga sitwasyon sa ato ang different districts or schools nga pwede ra og magtapok bakaha karon gamay ra ang mo access kay aron daghan jud makasud in this particular orientation. And then tomorrow also 25 and 26, yes, tomorrow we will be having our pre-work for kindergarten instead. Dissemination of the important inputs we learned during our CB for 1 week at the regional level and other important topics also to be discussed. And then workshop on the specialized training for elementary, balik-balik na, science teachers, enhancement of teachers' competence in science and so on and so forth. So nadiha mga persons involved, meaning including the participants in those particular training with the dates. Okay, so orientation on instructional video, virtual kindergarten inset. We scheduled this one on September 1 to 3. I think this is in conflict with katong national inset also. Kaya mo start man to August 30, 31, and then 1 to 3. Pero kung atong tan-awon, nakatan-aw ko metrics sa national, sa ang 1 to 3, murag kanang kuan na siya kanabang kanang mura og more on koy patan-awon is technology nana ano katong mga on ICT o mga lisod na nga mga program. So that's why ang atong kinder hopefully we can realize this one nga mo separate or they can have two gadgets at a time kung makaapa sila sa usa and then sa usa. Pero nice man kung maka-focus ra og usa. Okay, and then the three-phase reorientation of the field area. So nana diha, memorandum was already released to the field, and then giklaro jud adto nga to be cascaded to all the teachers or the school heads in the districts and schools. And then roll out of the 6-section webinar series on teaching grammar. Okay, murag na postpone na ni siya kay adto ra man siguro ning unta August, but then because of the kadtong suspension of the face-to-face activities, morning na postpone. Okay? For the English teachers. And then for SPED, and then for ALS, mao ni ang mga upcoming activities. So SPED enhancement, no man ako mention ani sa unahan, and then MAPI training workshop in 3 batches, September 6 to 10. And then ALS Revalida. I know that our supervisors are already aware and oriented on how to do the ALS Revalida. This is really very important for our ALS clienteles. Kay aron mao man ni ang puli sa kadtong A&E. So dili na sila mag A&E kato na mga documents as well as the interview. In my experience joining with our ALS EPSAS in one of the districts nga mo toy nakalugar jud ko og adto. So matandog ang atong kasing-kasing sa mga during the interview, sa mga sharing of the stories of our ALS nga mga clienteles kay atong matanawan no nga hanggingon nga matandog na nga ni uban nato nga mohilak sa ilahang mga istorya kay mao na ilahang mga kapait nga they are really very willing to learn, to continue their studies, to complete their education, but because of the problems at home, most of them sa atong natanawan is kanadjong problema sa bahay, problemas ginikanan ang uban nila kasagaran nila gibilin ra in taon sa ilahang lula, and then while learning the learning through the ALS o naningkamot pa sila pay nahimong breadwinner sa ilahang pamilya. So kinaluyan ang ato ang mga kabataan din nato sa ALS. And then naay times nga moingon ta nga kaning ALS mura man ning pakapin. So it's not pakapin. So naningkamot sila nga mo learn nga hopefully because of the ALS makakumpleto sila sa ilahang education, and then they can have kanang trabaho at the end in the future nga makatabang sa ilahang pamilya. So sa atong gingon sa unahan, kana bang why discrimination, ma-ALS na siya, ma-LSense na siya, so ma-bright na siya, madili na bright na siya, mahumot na siya, mabaho na nga bata, so we'll consider everybody as equal. So inana no, kay kitang tanan, hinimo ra man tas Ginoo. Pasalamat nga nita kay kumpleto. No disabilities, ang ato rang kuan siguro ron mga kasagaran nga mga health concerns because of pagsige nato og mga online activities, atong mga dunggan na maningog sa atong mga dunggan no, and then ang ato ang mga unsa may nga na kana mga radiation, so on and so forth. Pero mao naman kaani ang new normal. Okay? So kuan ta very positive because I know that God is always there. Again, we will treat everybody equally, including our ALS. We will support them. Okay? Kaya aron sila magmabugahon ug madamdan. Okay, so another upcoming activities. Congratulations to Bohol, one of the 4 SDOs in the whole country, recipient of a program, a project funded by Japan. Asian Development Bank, ang nga sa itong project is KSTA, Knowledge Skills Technical Assistance, funded by Asian Development Bank. So there are 5 recipient high schools, actually 10 ni siya. The remaining 5, mao na gitawag na to controlled schools. Okay. Hopefully we can release the memo on this, kaya matan-awan jud nato og unsa ning EDB KSTA EdTech Solutions Project for the Last Mile Schools. Last Mile Schools, murag dili pa siguro ni kanang familiar sa tanan, pero I know that you already have an idea on the Last Mile Schools. Ang ato nga ania is naatay mga identified schools as Last Mile Schools. Kanang kasagaran ani nila kanang naa sa mga hinterlands or mga schools in the mountain areas, and of course in the schools in the islands. Nga kuan unsa may nga naa the need of more assistance, of course. So kaning pagpili ani nila, it's not us. What we did with Ma'am Maulet and Ma'am Dina for our ICT, there was a survey on this. murag dinalian nga survey. So amo jud tong gipaspasan ni Ma'am Maulit o di Ma'am Dina nga makasubmit ta on or before the deadline. So mao toy gibasihan for the central office to identify Bohol. So I said only 4. We have Bohol as one, then Kalinga in Luzon, Abra in Luzon, and Zamboanga, Sibugay. So meaning sa Region 7, Bohol ra ang napili, sa Mindanao usara pud Zamboanga, Sibugay, and then duha sa Luzon. So Calabasita High School, Cambansag High School, Danahaw IS, San Jose IS, Santo Rosario IS. Ang Calabasita in Hagna, ang Cambansag nasa San Isidro, ang Danahaw in Clarin, San Jose and Santo Rosario IS in CPG. So 4 districts ang napili because of us. Nga kana bitang hatagan nato og importansya whatever kana man mga survey or what kanang data nga needed or required for us to submit. Kay naa jud nay kana bitang gamit very useful in the planning, very useful in unsa pa man in making of policy recommendations and of course policy issuances inana no. So thank you so much kay ang Bohol kinakugihanan jud ta ug naay kung naay link nga ihatag fill up dayon ang atong mga school heads abir gadubli-dubli nang uban nga ipang-delete na lang nato kay gadubli man and then mga supervisors mga kugihan. So mao na ni ang atong resulta sa atong kakugi no. So again mao ni sila ang kanang recipient nga 5 nga these schools, the junior high school learners grade 7 to 10 will be receiving 1 tablet each. Tablets with digital instructional materials. Kanang mga modules nato mo na i-digitize for English, Science, and Math. So inana no? So kani sila. Katong 5 nga apil ani ang target pero controlled school mao to sila og unsay resulta ani nga sila tagaan sa mga tablet og sa mga digitized materials og karing 5 nga why dili sila tagaan mo na tan-awon kun unsay resulta. So hopefully kung atong tan-awon is kung nindot ang resulta ani mao na siguro ni ang usa sa basihan for our department nga mukuha na jud ta sa the use of tablets, so on and so forth, computers, the use of digitized materials, for the learning of our learners. So, training date, mao ni ang mga training, October, for SDO and school IT, September manunta ni September 2 pero gi-utro na nila October na miss na ho sa atong specific dates sa October mga first week sa October with Ma'am Dina of course and other school ITs of the 5 schools katong high schools katong ato ang target schools and then all the PSDS of these target schools also kanang ma-appeal in this particular training, night training for them September 6 to 7 and then EPS in English, Science, and Math. And of course, the school heads of the recipient schools. And then, kung atong tanawon, another training for the school heads also with the teachers on September 8 to 10. So, mo ni atong update sa atong ADB KSTA EdTech Solutions Program or Project for the Last Mile Schools. Okay, so that's the end. So allow me to share with you this quotation. Inspiration comes from within yourself. One has to be positive. So when you're positive, good things happen. Okay, so in whatever PAPS programs, activities, and projects that you identified in the different plans that we have, the instructional plans, the BELC, the TE plan, the supervisory plan, the work and financial plan, and all the other plans. Hopefully, kanabang itong balik ko niya, kanabang we do everything with love because we're so happy nga we are so lucky in the Department of Education nga kanabang we are in the Department of Education, secure ang ato ang life as well as our family of course, and then hopefully everybody will be inspired of what we do every day for our learners. Okay, so for everybody, Thank you for listening, and then may God bless us all.
Thank you.
Hello, Sir Kenneth.
Thank you so much
Thank you
to
so
our
much to
OIC
our
chief. For CID, we have Dr. Carmela Restificar.